Ireland has always been a really strong supporter of pooled funds, quality funding for the UN, but pooled funds, giving the UN system flexibility to really take on that kind of integrated planning, integrated investment, integrated programming. Just recently, I'm just back from a UN field trip to Jordan, where I saw the combined work of UNDP, UNFPA and UNOPS working in sync. And one particular project was really SDG driven. It was down in Aqaba, where the UN system is collectively funding projects in relation to conservation of the coral reef, but also then sustainable tourism and sustainable development for the people of Jordan, the people of the Aqaba region. For us, to see pooled funding go into projects like that is really important, because you join up all the agencies, you join up the thinking, and you get more bang for your buck, to use an expression used here in the US. You're getting more out of it, you're driving down transactional costs, you're driving down inefficiencies, and I think given where we are with UN 80, that's more important than ever. It's really important, and Ireland is a very, very big fan and a very big supporter of that approach. And I think, as you said, the SDG Joint Fund is a really exemplar of that kind of thinking, that kind of strategic approach to funding. It's getting back to that concept of joined up approach, and that's important for governments working with the UN or through its own bilateral programs. For example, and I do go back to Jordan because it's fresh in my mind, but there you have 19 UN agencies plus 10 operating in Jordan but based outside. And ensuring coherence there is really, really important. And for us, we see the resident coordinator mechanism as hugely important to achieving that kind of coordination, collaboration, synergies. And for Ireland, and for other member states, that's really important. It's getting, the huge value out of those systems, agencies, people on the ground working in sync. And that's where we see this approach really paying off. That's why we're also such strong supporters of the resident coordinator system. We see its value, we see it there. I also was in Moldova last year in Odessa. So it's not just, one part of the world. This is a system and a reform since 2018 that's really delivering. And I think that's really important. And again, given our current context, given the liquidity crisis, and given the need for both, reform but also transformation, this approach is really, really important. That's why we're such strong supporters of it. It's important we don't give up on the SDGs. It's a framework that's so revolutionary in many ways and transformational. We achieved agreement in 2015 on the broad goals. It's always going to be difficult to implement across the globe. It was always going to be difficult even without the challenges of COVID and economic challenges, etc. But it's still an indispensable framework. And that's how we see it. And as we head now towards 2027, I suppose, for the final rendezvous, the final kind of check-in, and then 2030, we need to have political will. Governments have consistently said they support this approach, this framework. They did so most recently 2 years ago when Ireland and Qatar co-facilitated the political declaration for the SDG midterm review. So we need that political will reinforced at every level. We need adequate investment. You don't get more with less. You need that investment, and whether that's ODA, and we know there's an ODA challenge. Ireland is one of the few countries that's actually increasing its ODA budget, but we know there's a challenge there. But it's not just about ODA, it's about concessional financing, it's about ensuring the international financial institutions are working well for all member states. And I suppose it's also leveraging private sector investment as well. So not just one source, but a range of sources of financing. And then finally, I think, and this is the kind of the lodestone of the Sustainable Development Goals approach, is partnership and inclusion. So political will, adequate financing, partnership, inclusion, and we drive on to 2030. And I suppose, when we drive into 2027, we're going to start thinking about what will post-2030 look like. We know the needs will still be there. We know the need for climate action, for inclusive quality education, for quality cities, all those wonderful 17 goals, those needs will still be there. The question for us is how do we frame that for a post-2030 world? How do we frame that in a world where multilateralism is under some stress and strain, and where we're seeing conflict, hunger, famine, on scales that are really, really quite unprecedented and really very concerning. So we have to kind of frame that agenda post 2030, for now and for into the future, not for the world that was 2015.